Valentina.
Hi, Dr. Paul.
Thank you for coming out and revisiting UNF. And even though you've graduated and you've gone on to bigger and better things, I appreciate you coming back to talk to my students about your experience with our final project, with the health intervention final project. Mm-hmm. So, Valentina, why don't you, if you could take a few minutes and just explain to my students how you came up with your project and maybe a little bit about the steps you took to complete your project, and then perhaps we can make your Prezi available on our website so folks can take a look at it when they have a few minutes.
Okay.
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, hello everyone. As Dr. Paul said, my name is Valentina Bolanos. I actually have a bachelor's in psychology, and last summer, 2015, I got my master's in public health here from UNF. Has a concentration in health promotions and health education. So in terms of this project, well, I decided to work on mental health. Why? Because, well, I have bachelor's in psychology, and I saw mental health as it's a need in the society right now, in the populations right now. And it's starting to get more attention. But, so I saw it relevant to the project. And then why refugees, Burmese, and Bhutanese? Well, because when I took Dr. Paul's class, we had a presentation about war relief. And Dr. Paul introduced me to Brenda Boydstone, which is the coordinator over there in World Relief. And I saw it relevant to work with refugees and interesting too, and introduce the whole concept of mental health.
And can I just stop you 1 second? So if you, so as Valentina said, World Relief is a refugee resettlement organization based here in Jacksonville, downtown. And Brenda was our coordinator. She's in charge of the ECBOs.
ECBOs, the Ethnic Community-Based Organization.
Right, Ethnic Community-Based Organization, right. And it was a new concept, and she was very excited to have Valentina come and provide some research for her and for World Relief in general, so they could better understand the needs of the refugees.
Right.
Great, thank you.
So talking with her, I found out that Burmese and Bhutanese are two of the highest refugees populations that they have here in Jacksonville. And of course, those are the ones with the highest need for mental health services. So I'm just going to go quickly throughout my presentation so you can have an idea of what I looked at, what I focused on, and explain you how I did the process of, from the beginning, getting the topic to the end project, which is great. So okay, so I started first my presentation. Let me go back here with this quote, which is, "Mental health is not a destination, but a process. It's about how you drive, not where you're going." So, of course, I started with my literature review, where I provide students with the information. So, like, what is a refugee? So, just to give you a brief about that, those are a group of people that are crossing international borders because they're being forced to leave their homes. Why? Because probably there's wars, violence, religious or political persecutions going on. So, of course, they're not able to, have normal lives, safe lives in their own homes. The only option is to run away. So one of the big issues is that they're considered the most vulnerable group of people in the world. So you can imagine all the health needs they may have. So the United Nations High Commissioners for Refugee provided this stat that as of 2013, there's an estimated 16.7 million refugees worldwide. So, and from that 16.7, there's more than 3.5 million refugees going towards the Asia and the Pacific regions. So, quite big. So, in terms of the two populations that I looked at, which is the Burmese and the Bhutanese, those are two of the countries with the highest rates of refugees worldwide. And as of 2014, Burma, which is also known as Myanmar, had 479,600 refugees, and Bhutan had an estimated 31,500 refugees worldwide as well. So after I found the stats on my target populations, just wanted to give a brief statement of what they do, where they located, so that your audience can have a better perspective of who your target population is. So the first one, we're talking about Bhutanese, country of Bhutan, which, as you can see in the map, is located between China and India. And what's going on in this country? Why do we have refugees over here? Part of your literature review you need to put into perspective. Well, the first thing is that in the 1980s, they had the King of Bhutan, and he started this campaign, as you can see here, one country, one people. The whole point of that is that they wanted to implement policies so that they made the Bhutanese people the only cultural group in the country. What happened? Bhutan has a lot of minorities, so they were against this. So what happened? The government started to persecute those minorities that did not want to follow the one country, one people rule. So what happens when you don't follow and you start getting persecuted? You have to leave the country, forced to leave the country. So that was the main issue in Bhutan. The group that got mostly persecuted were the Losampas, if I'm pronouncing it right. They're from Nepali descent. So those are the main groups within the Bhutanese. Then we jump into Burma, which is nowadays known as Myanmar again, and is surrounded by China. We have India, Bangladesh, Laos, and Thailand, some of the countries surrounding. And the issue with Burma, well, it's not an issue, it's actually a great thing, is that it's a very ethnically diverse country. The government estimates that around 135 ethnicities are in the country. What happened in Burma is that after they became independent, the military wanted to have, establish their own centralized government. But the minorities wanted more of a federal government. So that created tension. And once again, those that did not want to follow the central government were going to be persecuted as well. And of course, they had to be forced to leave their countries and become refugees as well. So those are similar issues, being persecuted again in their own countries, that force them to leave and become refugees in different countries like the US. So, mental health, what's the issue here, the link here? Well, we see that there's poor mental health in those Burmese and Bhutanese refugees because, of course, that is being triggered by severe traumatic events. If you put yourself in their shoes, you're being forced to leave your own home where you have the comfort of your family, your traditions, your culture, and then you have to leave and go somewhere else. You can imagine the levels of anxiety and depression that can cause in an individual. So what the research shows is that, it's triggered by severe traumatic events, but they tend to have high levels of anxiety and PTSD and depression. So those are the three main things that you tend to see due to forced labor, being forced to leave their own country, plus their human rights are also being violated as well. So when we are comparing the US population to refugees, they tend to have the highest prevalence rates in terms of anxiety and depression. In the US, the rates for anxiety are ranging between 7 to 10%. When we're talking about the refugees, that jumps to 42% in depression and 41% in anxiety. So you can see a big difference right there. So isolation, the whole process of resettling is going to cause those issues. And the PTSD, some of those people have they've been in war situations. So you can imagine all the previous traumatic events that accumulate, plus the depression, plus the anxiety, leading to mental health issues overall. So quite tragic. So all this makes part of my literature review, so quite extensive. You need to touch several topics. As you can see, I started from a broad topic, and I'm slowly bringing it to smaller, so less broad. So you what do you call those?
Like a cone or?
Yes, exactly. So from broad to more specific. So I'm talking refugees overall, what's going on, and then I start to focus on my population, and then what is the issue within that population? Well, I'm addressing one of those. What is mental health? So you can go smaller each time, make it more specific. So After that, I introduced Work Relief, which is the organization that I'm actually working or work at the moment at the time with. And what they do is that they provide economic, social, and spiritual services to refugees during those first 90 days that they come to the United States. And in fact, in 2014, Jacksonville became part of this or participated in a grant that now they have it, where it's for ECBOs, which is ethnic community-based organizations, so to provide more services to the refugee community. So ECBOs, of course, is a nonprofit organization that tends to be comprised of non-refugees, refugees, and former refugees as well. And they want to provide social services after the 90 days of resettlement. So Work Relief is providing services those first 90 days. The ECBO, what they want to do is provide after. Because of course, the resettlement is going to continue after those 3 months. It's a long process. So as of right now, the ECBO is working with the African community, the established here in Jacksonville, the Burmese, and the Bhutanese as well, which are the main ones, the bigger ones right there. So some of the main goals of the ECBO, as you can see here, is to build a strong and diverse community. So strong community. They want to make sure that the health or that some of their needs, so like language, immigration status, is set for them. They don't have any of those issues. But mental health is one of those issues that they do not address as part of their program, which I think is highly important to address it, because of course you can imagine the all the traumatic events they've been through. In fact, recently one of my friends, she started working in Catholic.
Catholic Relief Services?
Yes, and she met this Burmese guy, and he's depressed, crazy depressed. He recently came to the States, and he's just by himself, came by himself.
Wow.
The guy is very depressed. She's like, I can see body language, you can see how he is. He just doesn't want to, he's not settling correctly here in the US right now. So he needs a lot of help, assistance, which, especially if you're by yourself in a whole different country, different language, culture is totally different. You can imagine how you feel, especially if you're being forced to leave, because there's a difference between, oh, I want to leave because I feel like going to a different country and establishing in another country, versus, oh, I have to leave and leave everything behind. Two different situations. So, as I was stating, so now we're jumping into the needs assessment. So needs assessment, we're looking at what are the gaps right now in the population. So I'm looking at mental health. Let me see what gaps the ECBO is having that I can use to address the situations. So the ECBO right now is focusing on the following services. So they have case management, interpretation, referral. They train you if you don't know any English, youth services, naturalization, so like your immigration status, and health promotions. But I mean, when we're talking about health promotions, where is mental health here? So that's what my needs assessment is showing. By talking to coordinators and Burmese and Bhutanese community leaders, I found out that mental health is not addressed. I mean, health promotions, they'll tell you how to eat well, be physically active, yeah, but what about mental health? That's not being included into their education service program. And if we want to improve the quality of life of these individuals, of course, we have to focus on this, because once again, they've been through a lot of things. So as part of my needs assessment, what I do is that I start looking at programs that have done similar but not the same. So for example, here in Jacksonville, nothing has been done in terms of, or when I did my research, nothing had been done in terms of mental health, education, or awareness for that population. So to create a program that addresses that specific issue to that specific population. But what I've seen throughout different countries was, for example, in Australia in 2006, they had this program called Compass Strategy, where they aim to raise awareness and educate the population about, or their target population, about mental health. So if you're seeing those signs, symptoms, what can you do? If you don't want help, but you're kind of like in the process that you need help, but you don't want to show that you need help, what can be done? So this program showed promising results. So what I did is that I took this to compare it as a standard towards what I wanted to do in my program as well, to help it develop. So to help develop mine, of course, I had to focus, here's where program planning comes in, part of public health. What health model you can use to help you create a health program, similar to this one, but not the same. So in my case, one of the models, well, let me try, we'll reverse. Some of the models that we have out there are the health belief model, stages of change model. So what we do, for instance, in my case, I decided to use the stages of change model, where it's telling you that individuals have different levels of readiness to achieve a health behavior. For example, in this case, some individuals may not even pay attention. No, I do not have anxiety. Why are you telling me I have anxiety? So for that population or that subgroup of population where they're telling you, I don't have anxiety, you have to target the program in a certain way so you can move them from that not wanting to accept that they have anxiety to, oh yes, I think I have anxiety. But then you have those that, oh, I think I have anxiety, but I don't want to do anything about it. You want to move them to the next phase. Oh, this makes you take some action. So that's what I ended. Stages of change model. That's the one I ended up using for my program. So when we're talking about Burmese, Bhutanese, and mental health, we need to take into account that cultural is the big piece in that puzzle. Some people, you tell them about psychologists, especially in the Western world, they're like, okay, I'm going to go to a psychologist. But in these communities, a psychologist is like a big no. I don't want some individual to tell me, how do I feel right now, kind of thing. So it's a complete different circumstance. For example, when you ask Burmese or Bhutanese, in terms of anxiety, they may describe their symptoms as feeling numb. They may say that they feel hot under their skin or that you're thinking too much. Whenever they tell you, you as the health person over here need to find that, oh, he's cueing me or she's cueing me. These are symptoms of anxiety or depression, or this person is experiencing PTSD. So whenever you're creating your health program, you must take into account the cultural situation. So you need to study your population first. Because if I'm going to come and tell them, okay, I think you're having anxiety, that's why you can't sleep, they're like, what's anxiety? You're telling me I can't sleep? I don't get it. But if you tell them, I think you're feeling numb. Why are you feeling numb? In a terminology that they can understand and they can relate to their culture, then you're like, they become more accessible to you or to that health program because you're a stranger to them. You're not from their culture. Which brings me to another point. If you want a health program that is targeting a population that is not the same as yours, it's important for you to involve community leaders. Why? Because the community leaders, we share the same culture. If someone from my same culture is telling me this, I'm more likely to accept it that some random individual, an American here, is telling me that I need to go to a psychologist. So it's important for you to involve community leaders, address that into your project because it's an essential part of program planning and creating health programs overall.
And Valentina, I wanted to share that you were able to meet with Efron, who was the leader of the Bhutanese cohort in Duval County, in Jacksonville.
And he got me some cues. He told me what the situation was, which I would not think about it because I have a different culture, different perspective, and things that he suggested, which I will be covering later, that you can do to help them like relieve those anxiety, relieve that stress, help them with the depression or any other form of PTSD that they may have. So that's exactly as part of your key informant interviews, which that's a way for you to gather data, or for you to understand what are the gaps in the community as part of your needs assessment. So having a focus group, if you're able to do that depending on your project, so meeting people from the community that are part of that target population and learning from them, asking them questions that, of course, I mean, you're probably going to have a different perspective, but they're going to give you the real perspective because, of course, they've experienced it before. So it's important to keep that in mind as well. So when you're doing that. So to go here, let me see. So yes, as part of like when I was talking to Efron, he told me about Burmese people over there. He said that they view mental health more of a physical problem. And I also saw this in the literature. So you have your face-to-face interviews, but you also look into the literature, and things that he told me, I did find in the literature as well. So I know there was some relevance in there. So make it more realistic and for the program itself. So they view it as a mental health, as a physical problem rather than a mental health issue. So one of the things that he told me is that in order for you to address that physical problem, things that they used to do in their country to help them make them happy, release that anxiety, again, all that depression, is to focus on gardening, fishing, and knitting. So if I want to improve their mental health and be part of that ECBO, maybe the ECBO can take some of that money and put it towards creating, having a garden for them. They can come after work or come during the weekend with their children if they have children and be like, let's go garden and release some of that stress.
Like a community garden,
Exactly.
coming up with funding to support a community garden.
Same with like a knitting project that they can come and do, going fishing and things like that, which are similar to things that they used to do in their country as a daily routine, which make them happy. But when you come here, I mean, you don't see it all the time. So quite different. So that's a way for them to achieve that relaxation and kind of, improve their mental health overall. Of course, you probably are going to incorporate things from like Western society, but you want to implement things from their culture to make it more relative to them. And of course, they're going to be more open-minded towards doing this. So rather than this, do some color therapy, which they've never been exposed to. Okay, so that concluded part of my needs assessments at what's going on. So once you have your literature review, your needs assessment, you have a big picture of, okay, so what are my gaps? Where should I focus? What will be my goal? And what will be my objectives for the project? So the main goal for me was to reduce the rates of anxiety, depression, and PTSD among my two refugee populations. By being exposed to mental health awareness, being educated about it, having the opportunities for them to, release a stress level. So objective number one is that by the end of the program, 75% of my refugees, of the refugees, will be able to list 3 effective ways that they can handle the symptoms associated with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. And before I forget, whenever you're creating your objectives, you want to make sure that they are SMART. So they're specific, S for specific, M, measurable, SMART, attainable, R for realistic, and T for time bound. So always keep that in mind. So you can see here that mine are quite specific. I'm telling you when, by the end of the program, what percentage. We're telling you 75% of refugees. What are they going to do? I'm telling you 3 specific. You just don't want to tell them they're going to list ways to handle the symptoms. No. You want to make sure you're telling them 3. Because when the time comes for you to evaluate those goals, you want to make sure that if the goal was, the objective was, the objective, not the goal. If the objective was accomplished, you want to make sure, they know 3 ways to do it. And yes, I saw that 75% of them did it. So that's a way for you to evaluate. It's going to make it easier for you at the end of the program where you're creating a pre-test versus a post-test and see that your objective was achieved. So you want to keep some time creating your SMART goals because it's going to help you towards the end. The SMART goals, SMART objectives, and those 2 things. Sorry. Okay, so the second one, number 2, we're talking more about an impact behavioral objective here, is that at the end of the program, 60% of the Burmese and the Bhutanese are going to be practicing breathing exercises at least 4 times per week for at least 20 minutes or more. So that's the other one. My third one, so the 3 months after the program, all Burmese and Bhutanese refugees will be provided counseling services. So in here, we're talking more about an environmental objective. And then objective number 4, within 2 years, the anxiety, depression, and PTSD rates among 2 communities or 2 populations will decrease by 15% in the Jacksonville ECBO. So that's my outcome goal. So we're talking long term, so 2 years after the program. So remember, specific, smart job, and goals in there. By now you probably know that my target population are going to be adult refugees from the countries of Burma and Bhutan that are currently established here in Jacksonville and are part of the ECBO that they have going on. So we went literature review, needs assessment, and now we're talking about goals and objectives of your program. Okay, so just to give you a little bit more information about your target population, or my target population in this case, here's the Burmese community. I have some pictures right there. So the official language over there is kind of like complicated because they have several languages, which I'm going to read right now, probably not pronouncing them right now, but Burmese is the official one. But since I told you before that there's like 135 different communities there, some other languages are Karen, Kachin, Chin, Chinese, Shan, let me say,
Yep.
Mon, Kalang, Wa, and Pali. Sorry for the pronunciation.
No, that's right. You're right.
But you can see quite diverse. And the main religion that they practice over there is Buddhism, but we also see Christianity, Hinduism as well. And this picture is actually my dad. He had the opportunity to go on a business trip to Burma. So this are his pictures
Wow.
when he was there. So, and he got invited to a wedding. He didn't even know who the people were, but I don't know, whenever they see people coming from the US, they're like, to invite them to weddings. So these are some of the other pictures. And I don't know, this is interesting. You see like just like white. Ooh. Oh.
Oh yeah, the white makeup.
The white
makeup. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it's
powder.
it's for protection from the sun. So something different. You don't see that over here. People with like white patches here. So that's what I'm talking. They learn more their culture. They're able to associate better to them. So that was interesting to learn about that. That's so funny. The monk and the bike. So yeah, those are some more the temples. You can see religion right there. Beautiful temples.
Yeah.
And so yeah, a lot of pictures from them. Very funny. Okay, so from the Bhutanese, well, these are from Google Images because I don't know anyone yet that has been to Bhutan, so
Right.
you can see them here. Also, very pretty country as well. Nepali is one of the languages that they speak over there, but Zonga and Sharcha, is that how you pronounce them,
Oh,
Dr.
I'm
Paul?
not even sure about that.
Well, those are some of the main languages over there, but Buddhism is also part of their main religion, but some people as well practice Hinduism over there. So that gives you an overview of the population that I'm addressing. So my program intervention is called Delete the Heat. Maybe you're asking why delete the heat? Kind of weird. Because if you can remember that before they express those symptoms of anxiety and depression or PTSD by saying that they feel hot under the skin. So my goal is for them to delete that heat, the heat from their bodies, to remove that. So that's why it's called Delete the Heat. Anyway, weird name. So here's where we start talking about details of the program. So As you can already know, the type of the program, of course, is going to be a mental health program that is going to address anxiety, depression, and PTSD. Once again, my target population are the Burmese and the Bhutanese refugees. The setting, well, we're going to make an expansion in the ECBO office that's located in Jacksonville. And the length of the intervention is going to be 6 months. The sessions, we're going to have 3 times per week. And of course, each session is going to be 1 hour for them. In terms of the administration of the program, at the moment when I was doing the project, Sarmila, she was the Bhutanese leader at the ECBO, which I don't know if I could show this. They're able to see it. Maybe.
Oh,
I
no.
think just no wait. Camera over here. I don't know. Well, I don't know.
It's gonna be, yeah.
It's gonna be hard, but so I obtained this information when I met with Brenda, with the coordinator of the War Relief, and she gave me some information about who the leaders are over there in terms of the Burmese community and the Bhutanese community. And of course, I'm going to have Brenda, which she's the project manager of the ECBO, coordinator of War Relief, project manager for the ECBO program. Also, I wanted to incorporate traditional medicine healers, which apply to their culture. People from their Buddhist and Christian backgrounds, so like religious personnel that can come in and provide with their perspectives as well. You also want to have the psychologists as well, because yeah, they come with the Western point of view, but when you have this group of people, you have different perspectives. You can actually create better, not a better program, but better strategies so that they can learn how to cope with the anxiety, the depression, and things like that. And of course, translators, main issue right there. So. Once again, and to develop my program, as I said before, I'm going to be using the stages of change model. If you go online, just look for health behavior models. You can see different behaviors. You can see what are they made of and what do you think will apply most to the program or to your target population.
And that's one of their homework assignments.
Okay.
Is to apply one of the models to their program.
Yeah, because if you have the model, you're good to go. It's going to help you plan everything out and see where everyone is in terms of your program. You're able to identify barriers. For instance, if you're using health belief model, you can find what are the barriers to achieving. If I were to use that one in my program, what are those barriers towards achieving better mental health? What is allowing them to achieve the better mental health? So things like that. So for mine, the stages of change model has 5 stages. So the first one, where what they're going to do is that you're going to provide them through like a piece of paper or something, where you see the 5 sentences, and they're going to select the one that applies most to them. So, for example, the first one, I haven't even thought about not feeling hot under the skin or numb. That's telling me they're in the pre-contemplation state. So they're not even thinking about it. The second one, I've thought about not feeling hot under the skin or numb. I intend to not feel that way in the next 6 months. So that one right there, contemplation stage. So I'm thinking about it, but we tend to see some change within the next 6 months. That tends to be like the key rule. It may change, but 6 months, that's what you see. The third one, I plan not to feel hot under the skin or numb very soon. That's preparation stage. So I'm ready to make some changes in my lifestyle. 4, I just started to not feel hot under the skin or numb. This person is in the action stage. And then the last one, I have not felt hot under the skin or numb in a very long time. This person learned how to make changes. We're now in the maintenance stage. And the goal is for you to be in the maintenance stage. Sometimes you may see that people may be in the maintenance and things can overlap. This is not necessarily, I'm going to stay in the action. Boom. No, sometimes people may be in action, but then something happens and they go back to number 2. But our goal is to make them move up each time so they can achieve that maintenance stage for a very, very long time. They don't go back to those unhealthy behaviors. So, in order for this to happen, in order to achieve or reduce those levels of anxiety, of depression, help them with the PTSD, we're going to incorporate several materials that go accordingly to the stage that the person is. So we're going to have educational lectures. So for example, someone in the pre-contemplation stage, I don't know anything about anxiety, I don't care. We put you in an educational lecture about, so what happens when your body is feeling hot? What's going on? Have you ever thought about what hot is? Okay, start to educate myself. We provide them with fact sheets, discussions, music, art, gardening. Someone in the action stage, we're using gardening meditation to achieve that level, to reduce those levels of anxiety. So depending on where your target population is, or different individuals from your target population are, the type of materials that you're going to be using in order to achieve that your goal after all. So something very important whenever you're creating your health program is to use incentives. Because, you have the health program, we know these people, they have things to do. They have children, they have a job. What can we do so they can come and they just don't see it, why am I going to waste my time an hour there? I'm so tired from working, 10 hours today. Why do I want to go there? So incentives are very important so that your target population can come and, make part of that program as well. So for mine, made them quite interesting. For every time, so for the people that come the 3 times per week for the hour session, they're going to be provided $100 plus dinner. So you don't have to go home and I need to think about how to cook. No, there you go. Of course, we understand that some of them may have children. So at the ECBO, we want to have daycare services for the time of the session. Because of course they may not come if they don't have anyone to leave their children with. And then free transportation. So some of them may not have transportation. Remember, they've been here a little bit over 90 days. Some may have, some may not. It's kind of shaky. And if you rely on public transportation here in Jacksonville, it's going to take you hours. So transportation from the ECBO to their homes and from their homes back to the ECBO. And then, let me see. Towards the end of the program, they can enter a drawing to win an iPad and a MacBook Air. So quite interesting incentives for them to come over and do some of the activities as part of the program. So after you have this completed, you want to focus on your evaluation. So did something work or did it not work? We want to know. So that's why I'm telling you that whenever you're creating your objectives and your goal, your objectives have to be SMART. Because if you have them SMART, it's going to be very easy for you to evaluate your program. So for example, my objective number 1, remember it was by the end of the program, 75% of the refugees with these 3 effective ways to handle the symptoms associated with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. So one way for you to do that is to conduct exit interviews. So towards the end of the program, you meet with each individual and you ask them, you can be orally or they can write them. So tell me, what are 3 ways for you to reduce your anxiety? Boom, boom, boom. They tell you, okay, they know the material, they know things, they're good to go. So conducting an exit interview is a way for you to find out if your objective was met. Objective number 2, at the end of the program, 60% of the refugees will be practicing the breathing exercising at least 4 times per week. So a pre-test at the start of the program, post-test at the end of the program. So the pre-test, you may be asking, how many times a week do you do breathing exercise? You may put 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. At the end of the program, you do the same test, asking them the same question, and then you'll see if they are now doing 4 times per week, or if they're still at 0 times per week. And that way it can give you, if at least 60% of them are actually doing the 4 times per week. So pre-test, post-test, that's one of the most common ways for you to evaluate your program. Then objective number 3, once again, we want to do the pre-test at the start of the program. And then post-test 3 months after the program, we can find out if those counseling services are being provided after all. And then the other one that I have, so within the 2 years of my outcome objective, I want to do another pre-test at the start of the program, and then post it 2 years after the program to see if I did see a decrease of 15% in terms of the anxiety, depression, and PTSD. So that's a big one right there. So once you've done your evaluation, you don't want to be like, okay, 6 months, 2 years, my program's done. I'm done. No, you want to make sure that your program is being sustained. That's the whole point. Because, yeah, some people may be able to get out of improve their mental health like this. Some of them cannot. You want to make sure that this is ongoing. Because, of course, you help a group of refugees, but you know more are coming that are going to need the services as well. So you want it to keep on going. A good way for you to sustain the program, in my case, of course, is to keep with the support from World Relief and keep in contact with Brenda Boydston, so she can keep showing that, yeah, we need grant money. Here are the results from the first time. We can do it again. We can do it better. So you want to keep that. And one of the most important ones is the active leadership from people from the community, so the Burmese and the Bhutanese. If they keep that going, the program is going to go, go, go. Whenever you take away those community leaders out of the program, there is a high chance that your program is going to end very soon. It's not going to be ongoing, which that's what you don't. So that's like the main big thing of my program. Of course, I included a budget for total 500,000. Timeline of what everyone or when I'm going to do the resources, hire people, when is the evaluation going to happen, final evaluation, when is that going to be done, and then my references, a lot of references, so, and that's, thank you. So that's what I did for my project overall. Takes a lot of time, so you don't want to do it 2 days prior, no.
Do you want to show your brochure?
Yes.
I can't really see it, but there's.
I wonder if I could just walk towards the camera and show it. I don't know.
Let's see. Okay, and Valentina as well created this cute brochure to highlight the main components of her program.
I don't know. Really? No, it's too far.
No, you can't see it, but I can make a copy of it, and if that's okay.
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
Put it on the website.
But yeah.
Called DVD.
Yeah, so put pictures whenever you have brochure. Make sure you have pictures. And you have the important information. You don't want to make it overly crowded with information because you want to highlight the key points. Make it readable to your target audiences, to whoever you're giving it to. So that's the one I use. And I don't know. Oh, whenever I was presenting, I gave everyone a copy of my executive summary. So your executive summary, which is going to be your first part of your project, is going to have just a brief statement of your lit review, your needs assessment, I don't know, your, target population, and the logo that I use for my program, the interventions, the goal, my budget, and who can you contact? Of course, me and Ms. Brenda, which from World Relief. So.
And it's one page that you can leave it. It's one piece of paper you can leave with your funders if they have any questions about any of the key components of the program.
Yeah, so gives you like an overview of what's going on with your program. And then this was my final project. I don't know. Kind of hard to see from here, but let me see. So I have my table of contents. Of course, I use APA formatting for this. I have the executive summary, my lit review, needs assessment, the mission goals and objectives, my target population, then the program intervention as well, the evaluation, sustainability, then budget, timeline, and of course, my references as well. So as you can see, here's my executive summary. However, this executive summary is a little bit more lengthy than the one that you give to everyone, because of course, more in depth for the project here. Literature reviews. So I started abroad talking about refugees, what's going on, some of the stats, and then I go into talking about specifically about those two populations, which are the Bhutanese and the Burmese. Then what is the connection between the Burmese, Bhutanese, and refugees here in the U.S.? So I introduced the Refugee Act that, it's allowing refugees here in the United States. Then, okay, so we have refugees, my target population, what's the connection here in the U.S., what's an organization here in the U.S. So that's where I introduced Work Relief. And then we're talking to the ECBOs, which is the area where I'm working on. And of course, one of the more important ones, needs assessment, because that's going to tell you, going to gear you as to where do I need to focus. Because you don't want to do something that's already been done several times. You want to do something that's totally different, a little bit different, to help your target population. So that's where I included the information from my key informant interview with the Burmese community leader. So some of the information that I obtained from him, I included here. Also, some of the other mental health programs that I've seen that not necessarily address refugees, but they can give you some of the perspective of how you can gear your program and differences that you can implement into your own. And then you go into your mission, goals, and objectives, which I already talked about, which you remember to make them smart. Target population again. Let me see. And then the program intervention, when you just describe the administration, how did you do it, where are you doing it, and things like that. And then I introduced the stages. So in that area, that's where you want to start talking about what model you're going to use, health behavior model. And then the incentives that I used, how did I evaluate my program, so all the objectives. And then towards the end, I have the sustainability, the budget, the timeline, and then the references. Are they doing the grant application as well?
Yes.
Okay, so I also did the grant application. It may look kind of hard, but it's not hard. It's easy. Like quick. Once you have your project done, it's fill in the gaps kind of thing in your proposal or your. So yeah, so. Geographic locations where I'm working, the United States, specifically Florida, the 500,000 that they're going to give us. And then once again, you have that same table of contents. Of course, the difference is that you want to include the charitable purpose as part of your of this grant. Which can be like a sentence or two. What are you going to do? What is the purpose? Mine is to increase the mental health awareness in the community, in the refugee community. So, once again, you have your literature review, which you have from your project, needs assessment again. Yeah, as part of your executive summary. So it's the same thing. And then the context is more talking about your literature review. Context is the literature review. So yeah, literature review. Let me see. And then your framework. So you're just talking about where am I going to be working, the goal, my objectives again, and the activities that I'm going to be using to kind of like accomplish those objectives. How am I going to be measuring that? So that's where you can include the evaluation process. How are you going to evaluate or measure if the goal was met or not? And then the assumptions. So is this doable? Yes, in 3 months, yes or no, and things like that. So same thing for the other objectives as well. You touch on sustainability once more. The facilities, how you're going to manage the project. So that's the administrative part from your project as well. And of course, your references, which are your citations as well. And then you include in your appendix towards the end the timeline. You may include your budget as well. So that's what you do in there.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Valentina, for spending so much time working with us on explaining your project. It was extremely comprehensive, and it was a real-life project. That's why I thought it'd be interesting to share with everyone, all the students who have not yet delved into their project.
Right.
But this was fantastic. You took it to such a level that I thought it's something that we can all learn from.
Right.
So thank you for going through it with such minute detail. It was fabulous.
You're welcome. And good luck, everyone.
Thank you.